The entire point of habit change and self improvement is to change your identity. It's to change who you are. It's not to change the things you do, and it's not really to change the way you think. Those all come with the main thing you're seeking, and we don't talk about that enough. And that main thing is identity change. You're trying to change who you are. Now, let's talk about that in more depth. whenever you whenever a person whenever I want to change something about myself, or whenever I want to change something I do, which is also something about myself in a way, right? So if I do something, it's something about myself. But whenever I want to change a characteristic of myself, I'm not going, and the end goal is not to just change that thing or that characteristic. It's to change who I am. And that's a very deep realization that needs to be had. And that kind of goes against a lot of the modern fluffy wishy-washy self-help stuff, where you're basically told that you're okay, where you're told that whatever you feel or whoever you are, however you are, you're fine and you're okay. In an important sense, in the truest and realest sense, that is true. That's absolutely true. But when you're trying to improve yourself in the self-development sense, that's not the right way to think about it. Self-acceptance is not the right approach, right? The right approach is self-understanding and then self-development. And the whole point of all that, the entire aim of all that, is to change who you are. It's to change your identity. And we need to talk about that a little bit more. It's not good when we start on self development paths and have no idea where we're going. So people all the time in the Western world today get on the self development path. They I don't know, maybe it's the new year and there's a New Year's resolution that they're getting into. Maybe they realize that they're overweight. Maybe something happened in their personal life where they're realizing that they have to start changing their lives now. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe some other traumatic event happened. Maybe a positive event, but usually no. Usually it wouldn't be a positive event. That's the catalyst for a, this kind of approach and this kind of desire to change. Usually it would be probably a negative thing, typically. So you have people starting on this path. There's something inside them driving them to do it. Something very interesting, right? This kind of eternal voice inside us, this eternal all-knowing wisdom pushing us to become better and to take on our tasks in life and to take on our responsibilities in life, and in an adult, courageous, warrior like, robust way. We have this kind of quiet voice, quiet and loud at the same time, pushing us. But the actual monkey, me, when I actually go in to the bookstore and buy a book or read an article online or go to the gym or do something, I don't have a clear idea of what my end goal is. I'm too often confused, and I end up thinking that what I'm actually trying to do is change my actions. That what I'm actually trying to do is get rid of my gut or get more muscles or change something about my brain or my mind, maybe improve my memory or improve the way I approach certain interactions with people. Maybe I'm trying to improve the way I am at work. I'm trying to procrastinate less at work. I'm trying to procrastinate less with all my responsibilities. Maybe it has to do with my anxiety and I'm trying to tone down the way I approach everything in an anxious way. I want to approach things in a calmer way. And I want to approach things in a more robust way. All these things that I may want to do. Maybe I want to stop yelling at my wife, my girlfriend, my kids. Maybe I want to be a better friend or a better person. So whatever I want to do, I mean, I could go on with this list. This is just scratching the surface. But whatever I want to do, the goal is not to do any of those things. That's not at all what makes me miserable. That's not why I'm miserable. Am I miserable because of that? That's not why I really want to change. It's the entire package. It's the entire thing that comes with it. It's who I am. I'm not happy with who I am, and what I want to do is I want to get rid of who I am. In a sense, I want to destroy who I am. In a sense, and I actually want to be someone else. What I'm seeking is identity change. Identity change, not habit change. Habit change is only the path towards identity change. But in reality, what I'm seeking is identity change. The whole thing, the habits and the whole thing. But the habits are only just a tiny, tiny part. So if you want to lose weight and you want to become fit, it's going to be very hard to do if you're pursuing it piecemeal and you're just focused on the tasks at hand instead of having an idea in your head that you're focused on becoming that all these tasks, they may be miserable in the moment, but they're slowly, slowly, slowly shifting the river so it flows in a different direction, and the end goal is going to be the identity change. So it's all building up to something beautiful that matters. That matters, knowing that it's building up to something that really does matter when you're trying to improve yourself, because too often we stop before the improvement actually happens. That's like what happens most of the time. Most people are on the right path. You're doing the right things, right? You're doing the right things, doing the right things, and then this fucked up voice inside your head gets in your head, just starts yapping, and it basically throws you off track. And it throws you off track, and it's easy for it to throw you off track. In the modern Western world, that voice has no problem throwing you off track, because what the heck is going to keep you on track? Do you have a community that's going to keep you on track? Do you have a set of principles, deep moral principles that you live by that are going to keep you on track? Do you have a bunch of stuff you've read that's going to keep you on track? A bunch of literature you've read and a bunch of understanding and wisdom that's going to keep you on track? Or is it just you're relying on your current emotions that's keeping you on track? Or is it just that you're more um, a mechanism? You're just a mechanism that responds to negative stimuli, and so when that's the only thing that's pushing you towards something, when it's just, oh, something bad happened to me, so I want to improve myself a little bit so it doesn't happen again, when that's the only thing that gets you on the track, it's going to be very easy to take you off the track. When it's much more deep and intense things that get you on the track of self-development, it's much more difficult to get you off track. And just saying I want to hurt a little bit less, unfortunately, never going to be enough. It's just never going to be enough. It needs to be something much more deep. And the themes of that deepness, the themes of what you need, they're universal. There's not too many you have your own, each person will have their own individual, like kind of strand of it, but the entire thing weaves together into one universal theme, or just a few universal themes about help, literally just the cheesy things about helping people and being a strong, courageous warrior. And that's basically it. When those are the themes that get you on there, helping other conscious beings, that's number one. Probably number two is being a warrior. From all I've read and all I've seen, those are the two kind of main themes that really drive people onto that path of self-improvement in a very robust way, where it's not possible to take you off anymore. Like a real love for other conscious entities, a deep love, and a deep desire to make things better for them, make them better, not just happier, but just better, work for the conscious entities that you find around you. It's very broad thing. And the other one is being a warrior, the drive to be a warrior, which also is helpful, because in number one, if you want to do number one, if you want to help the conscious entities, if you're a warrior, that's much easier to do. If you're a strong person, if you're a robust person, in every way, it's much easier to do, to stand up against evil and to protect people that need protecting. You need to be better in every way. So you have a cause you love. Imagine you have a cause you love. Yeah, if you have $1 million to throw at that cause, isn't that something? If you really believe and love that cause, If you have an extra $1 million to throw at it, that's something. So when you develop yourself and you attain more material resources, you're able to do that. If you attain physical strength, you're able to physically affect the world. You're able, wherever you go, you're able to better protect the people there. It's a nice feeling, and it's a nice thing to do. And you have you're more confident in your ability to survive if Western civilization collapses. It gives you a small, tiny sense of comfort in your mind. But I don't want to get too off track here. I don't want to get too off track here. Back to the point of identity change. The whole point of the whole point of self-development is identity change. And when you talk about that more, when you have an idea of that more, when you have a conception of yourself as a changed entity, when you see yourself, okay, in X amount of time, I have just a vague conception of what kind of person I want to become, and you're obviously not going to become that person. That's not how it really works. Other things will happen to you, and you'll probably become a better person than that. You'll become somebody you really like versus someone that you just imagine. But you only become that person, that person that you really like, when you get on the path to self-improvement, when you get on the path to self-development, and you actually stick to it. Now, if you don't think self-development is important, then there's only one other thing. It's the path towards death. Unfortunately, there is no middle ground in the world we find ourselves in. There just doesn't exist. It's not possible. So if the thinnest line. There's nowhere to stand between self-development and just moving towards death effectively. There's no, oh, just neutral. I'm not in the self-development camp, but I'm not stagnating. I'm fine. I'm okay. No, that doesn't exist. I wish it did, but that's not how we're built. It's not how the world is. It's just not how we're built. Human beings need stress, and we need stressors on ourselves. On top of that, we have an incredibly dynamic and complex world, like the kind of world that continues to coddle us with its technological innovations and its wealth, especially for us in the Western world. And that's amazing and beautiful, but it makes us weak as well. And when you take something very, very high up, if you cut the cord, it's going to come falling down very, very hard. So if you take something a little bit up and you cut the cord, the fall's not going to be that hard. So to protect yourself from the really rational ideas that the rational possibilities, the possibilities that appear rational to me, that things can become worse tomorrow than they are today. I hope not. I hope they're far better, but they can be far worse too. You want to improve yourself in every way. But it's more than that. It's more than that. The path of self-improvement and self-development, it's an acknowledgement. Are you the best version of yourself? Are you who? Are you the best version of yourself? And when I say that, I'm talking about the monkey. I'm talking about this monkey, not who I really am. So, in the deepest sense, in the even deeper sense, in the truer sense, than talking about the monkey, when we talk about who we really are, our truest, most eternal nature, in that sense, yeah, self-improvement is completely irrelevant. So it's both the most important thing and the least important thing at the same time. So it's interesting. And when you see yourself in that way, when you take a step back and you see yourself in the truest, most eternal sense, and then you come back from that conception of yourself, you have a much more loving view of yourself, a much more loving view of the world, but also there's a very clear message there that the path is to improve yourself. That's the path. You gotta be improving things daily. That's your task. That's what the best people in history wrote about, thought about. That's how they lived their lives. So that's the exceptional way to live. And I don't blame anyone that doesn't choose to live that way, because the world's so fucking hard, And if you could just get by, if you could literally just get by day, you're doing okay, because the world's hard. It is. But for some people, it's not that hard. For some people, it's not that hard. And for those people, they have an obligation to themselves, first of all, and to the rest of the society. They have a deep obligation to become the best versions of themselves. The way you improve the way you improve the world is by improving yourself, because this is what you can control here. Here, this is the first. The entire world, it starts here. You're the center of the universe. Everything out there. So just the room, the neighborhood, the city, the town, the state, everything, the country, and then the entire world starts here. You're the center. All around you. Start here first, and everything will flow out. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the rest of the world to improve yourself, to truly improve yourself. Not in the stupid profit-seeking, pathetic way, but in the truest way, in the realest and most meaningful ways. The kind of way where it makes sense to you, the monkey, and it also makes sense, perfect sense, when you step back and you see yourself in the bigger picture, in the truer sense, in the more eternal sense. When you see your true nature, and you see what role the idea of the monkey plays in it, you also agree with that path. It's the path that's agreed upon by everyone and everything that has to do with who you are. So it's not something where you're just, if just a monkey is into the path, and then when you see yourself in the bigger picture, you're like, what the fuck, this monkey's completely deluded, and that's not the right path. That's like basically so many cautionary tales that we've seen throughout our lives, from movies and books, from ancient stories, all through modern books and modern movies. Cautionary tale after cautionary tale from the person who's like making a ton of money but has no connection to their friends or family, no connection to the people in their lives, and they're basically all alone in their life, to that person, or the person who just makes the mistake of giving too much of themselves and isn't able to put enough boundaries up and understand who they should let in and who should not, and doesn't have enough almost personal dignity to kind of to approach the world in the right way and to protect the monkey too. So that's a cautionary tale. There's just so many cautionary tales where you think you're on the right path, and then when you step back, you see you're not. Or when somebody else looks at you, they say, no, you're not on the right path. Just like when you're reading the book, this guy, just a story of a guy who's doing his thing. Let's say he's making a ton of money. Just one example of this type of cautionary tale, and it's a popular example. It seems like it's been a popular example throughout history in Western civilization, where you're just focused on, this one guy's just focused on money, but he's not in touch with his family. But you can also have a cautionary tale where he's so not focused on money that he ends up losing his family, losing his everything, because he's not focused on money enough. So you can have two sides of the same coin. The cautionary tale come from both sides. So to wrap up the discussion, habit change is only a means to an end. The end is self change. The end is self-identity change. So you want to change who you are. That's the goal. You're trying to change who you are. And your actions every day are just tiny, 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 tiny pieces towards building up that bigger change. And so when you're frustrated and when you're kind of bogged down in the actual nastiness of the change, right? The actual unpleasantness, the wretchedness of making a change and forcing yourself to deviate from the paths in which your mind is already used to operating. That wretchedness, when you're in that muck, realize, hey, this is serving a bigger purpose. And in the end, what I'm doing every wretched moment is building up and building up and building up to slowly changing who I am, to slowly changing my identity. That's the key.